සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර තුනකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Making headlines on First at 9. Development taking flight. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe reveals plans to introduce domestic air services in the Eastern Province. Rumbling saga of Galle Stadium. Former President of Sri Lanka cricket assures that the Galle Stadium will not be deprived of international cricket. Accusations of deception. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa accuses the government of stripping the public's right to appoint a government of their choice. ODI slump continues. Battling lineup collapses as South Africa beat Sri Lanka in the first one-day international. Tragedy in Indonesia. 6.4 magnitude earthquake kills at least 13 people in Lombok. Well, very good evening to you and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katrina Chang. Now on to top story tonight. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today revealed the government's plan to launch a domestic air service centering the Eastern Province. The Premier touched on the government's plan at an event held in Patiklo today. A new building at the Divisional Secretariat of Manumune Pattu Aryampati was declared open under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe earlier today.
We will implement a major rural development program from 2019 to 2020. We are also ready to launch the program Gamperaliya. Apart from that, we're going to launch new economic development programs for the conflict-affected areas, such as the northern and eastern provinces. We have decided to start tourist aviation services in these areas. We also thought of declaring a year-long tourist season for Eastern Province instead of the season from June to October. Late in the day, the Prime Minister also unveiled a building at Divisional Secretariat Eravur. We plan to start domestic air services at the Batiklo airport and 4 companies are already interested in it. But once it starts, hotels in Pasikuda won't be enough. We'll have to establish more hotels in the area. And then we will have to look at ensuring tourist economy in the area. When industries are established in Gampaha and Kuliapitiya, we will have to cut down a lot of coconut trees. That's why we will plant coconut saplings in northern and eastern provinces. For that, we're planning to have discussions with relevant companies and landowners.
SLFP membership drive for the Halia electorate was organised by MP Dilan Pereira, who parted ways with the government recently whilst holding a ministerial post. Minister Nimasiripala De Silva was the chief guest at the event.
When President Maithripala Sirisena convened a meeting with the SLFP's All-Island Working Committee, we were thinking of giving ourselves a time frame to break away from the alliance and create a massive wave of support against the UNP. If we do not do this, what will happen? I do not like to see President Maithripala Sirisena, who has been a member of the SLFP for 42 years and who was the General Secretary for 13 years, become destitute in his political career after this stint. I would like to see him continue in politics at least for a while. If the President is going to contest the presidential election, then he should seek votes as an opposing candidate to Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and the UNP. But after what happened in the last election, it is evident that we cannot do this without the blessing of Mahinda Rajapaksa. That is why we are holding this meeting with the backing of both President Maithripala Sirisena and Mahinda Rajapaksa. We can only move ahead if those receiving votes and those casting their votes travel together. If both these factions come together and if we find a way to do it, it is only then we can defeat the UNP. I keep hearing that the next presidential candidate should be President Maithripala Sirisena. If he is the only nominated candidate, I oppose this. If he is to run, then he should create a wave of support that opposes Ranil Wickremesinghe. But if he is not, and the fact that Mahinda Rajapaksa cannot run again for presidency, then the only next suitable candidate is Nimalsiripala De Silva.
Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana worked off political rallies in several areas today as well. Parliamentarians representing the SLPP expressed views focusing on a few issues, including the proposed new constitution.
When these two are pulling the country in opposite directions, the nation becomes dysfunctional. There is a book for governing the country and it's called the Constitution. It was maintained by responsible and honourable committees. The government of good governance appointed a committee filled with parliamentarians who came from the national list and depend on NGOs. They are amending the constitution to divide the country into pieces. When the Prime Minister visits the northern province, Indian Premier Narendra Modi congratulates him as if we are a colony. I should also say that it is Mahinda Rajapaksa who will be the next presidential candidate. University students are beaten up when they attempt to discuss with education officials. This government came into power claiming that they will increase the Mahapala bursary, but they have used the Mahapala money in the bond scam. There aren't any money left to pay these students. Over 60,000 graduates are unemployed in the country. As soon as this government came to power, taxes increased and investors were taken before the FCID. We lost investors. And now they're selling off all national resources at cheap prices to cover up their inability to govern. The so-called Minister of Finance, Mangala Samaravira, issued a Gazette notification on the 19th of July. Customs duties for 182 commodities have been removed. All these commodities are related to animal products. Although we might laugh at it, imagine the fate of this country if all these commodities are imported to the country without any customs duties.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa points the finger at the government, alleging that it is attempting to strip the public from their right to appoint a government of their choice. Addressing a seminar held in Ampara today, the former Defence Secretary said that the new constitutional process is used by the government to deprive the public of this right.
If a new constitution needs to be introduced, it will have to receive a two-thirds majority in Parliament. Since it will have to receive the public's mandate as well, those involved in the process have now come to realise it is not easy as it seems, which is why, as an alternative, they are attempting to introduce the 20th Amendment to the Constitution as a private member's bill through the JVP. They are also conspiring to implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution during the Working Committee stage on the back of a new constitution. There is talk of Ranil Wickremesinghe being nominated as the presidential candidate for 2020. But I wish to say that he is in fact not the presidential candidate. All that the citizens of the North who experienced 20 years of war require is to uplift their livelihoods. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa provided them the opportunity to establish a Northern Provincial Council. He tried his very best to hold discussions with the Chief Minister and find out what issues they face and find a solution. However, they showed no interest in doing so. Therefore, their motives are evident. How many times has this government violated the Constitution? They are delaying elections by uttering lies. They are attempting to introduce a new constitution to strip away the public's right to appoint a new government of their choice.
UPFA parliamentarian and former president of Sri Lanka Cricket Thilinga Sumitipala moved to give further assurance over the future of the Galle International Cricket Stadium, which has been cast into doubt lately over its constructions, allegedly encouraging UNESCO stipulations on the Galle Fort. MP Sumitipala says Sri Lanka Cricket will not let the stadium be deprived of international matches and assures that the stadium will not allow to be given foreign entities. The parliamentarian made these remarks while speaking to media following an event held in Anuradhapura this morning.
The Galle International Stadium is given to Sri Lanka Cricket for a period of 30 years. That agreement for test matches was signed in 1998. Accordingly, Sri Lanka Cricket has rights to play for more years. Sri Lanka Cricket will never let the Galle International Stadium be deprived of international cricket. The ground is a property of Sri Lanka Cricket. We have legal and official rights. We don't have any plans to hand it over to any international institution. It will not happen.
කිසිම බලාපොරොත්තු නැහැ ඒක සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
ක්‍රිකට් ක්‍රීඩාව දියුණු කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රවීණ ක්‍රිකට් ක්‍රීඩක මහේල ජයවර්ධන මහත්තයා යෝජනාවක් ඉදිරිපත්.
ඇත්තටම ඉස්සෙල්ලාම
Actually, provincial cricket was introduced by us, but later it was stopped by interim committees. 3 out of 4 proposals brought by Mahela have been implemented. The other is also being discussed for approval. All his proposals are important and we respect him for his contribution.
අපි ඒක කරු කරනවා.
2 suspects have been arrested in connection with the 20 million rupee heist from a cash delivery service which was in the process of refilling private bank-owned teller machines in Bulat Singhla yesterday. Police say the driver and security officer who accompanied the cash delivery vehicle of the company, which is under contract to refill cash dispensing machines, were arrested today. Over 20 million rupees in cash, which was to be used in refilling automated teller machines in the area of Bulat Singhla, was being transported by a van before the heist along the Bulat Singhla Horana road yesterday. At around 5:30 p.m, officials of the relevant cash delivery service, which is under contract to refill teller machines of private banks, had stopped for a late lunch at a restaurant. The driver, a security officer and an official of the company had gone into the restaurant for lunch while another official stayed behind in the van. It was then that 6 robbers had arrived at the location, pulling the official minding the vehicle out. The robbers had attacked the trio having lunch with chili powder.
A man came inside the restaurant when we were having lunch and ordered a cup of tea before going out. Then another man came along and threw chili powder at my face. I had the keys with me. He wanted to snatch it away, but I kept it with me and ran to the back of the restaurant. Then a couple arrived and I asked them to note down the vehicle number of the robbers. My phone was inside the van, so they dialed 119 to report the incident.
A person came and ordered a tea. I went to prepare it and that's when I heard a glass breaking. I went to see what had happened and that's when they threw chili powder at me.
Other Derana report on the ground said the safe, which was at the back of the van, had been broken into with a hammer before the robbers made away with 12 of the 19 bags of money. Following preliminary investigations, the police suspect that the security officer of the financial company who was present at the scene had deliberately left his firearm inside the van before going to the restaurant. Accordingly, both the security officer and the driver had been arrested under charges of aiding and abetting the robbery. Further investigations are currently underway.
Preliminary investigations suggest that money had been transported inside this van in a very careless manner. Even the back door of the van had been left unlocked. That's why we took measures to arrest the driver and the security officer. After producing them before the magistrates' court in Matugama today, we were granted permission to hold the duo in custody for 48 hours for questioning.
Government Medical Officers Association alleges that the government is maintaining silence over the 10 demands they put forth pertaining to the health sector. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, the GMOA said that it will launch a 24-hour token strike on the 3rd of August and promised the trade union action will not affect emergency services as well as hospitals dedicated for pediatric services, cancer treatment and armed forces personnel.
Singapore සමග වෙළඳ ගිවිසුමක් අත්සන් කරලා තියෙනවා රජය.
Although the government signed an FTA with Singapore bypassing Parliament, we're trying to stop its implementation. We also call for a national trade policy to be formed before going for any other international trade agreements. In addition, the new Inland Revenue Act has adversely affected all professionals, not just the doctors. We also requested the government to gazette the minimum standards for medical education. However, the Health Minister did it, neglecting recommendations made by the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Our calls were not met with a positive response. Therefore, we will move for a trade union action on the 3rd of August. Emergency services will not be affected. Children's hospitals, maternity hospitals, cancer and kidney treatment centres as well as hospitals for armed forces are free from the trade union action.
High Commissioner of India Ranjit Singh Sandhu paid a visit to the National Trilingual School in Polonnaruwa this morning to witness the construction work at the school. The National Trilingual School in Polonnaruwa is being built under an Indian grant assistance of 300 million Sri Lankan rupees. The construction of the school is one of the key projects prioritised in close consultation with President Maithripala Sirisena under the Pibidemu Polonnaruwa or Awakening Polonnaruwa District Development Programme. The project is expected to be completed by January next year. We'll join you with business news after this short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. The Maldives Monetary Authority revealed Sri Lanka to be the most preferred leisure destination for Maldivians during last year. The Maldivians Travelling Abroad survey released this week highlights that 43% of Maldivian tourists who travel to Sri Lanka come on vacation. Last year's Maldivians Travelling Abroad survey that records the findings on the purpose of travel, destination and expenditure of Maldivian travellers publicised by the authority at the end of 2017 had surveyed 4,220 of the 6,943 Maldivians that arrived in 2017. The report highlights that the main purpose of visit of Maldivian travellers to Sri Lanka shifted in the year 2017. As such, in 2015 and 2016, the main purpose was cited as to obtain medical services, while vacation was the main purpose in 2017. Hence, the share of the Maldivian visitors to Sri Lanka for vacation increased gradually from 35% in 2015 to 43% in 2017. On the other hand, the proportion of travellers to Sri Lanka for medical services decreased substantially from 52% in 2015 to 38% in 2017, while the proportion of business travellers remained rather constant and accounted for 3% on average over the past 3 years. The average duration of stay of a Maldivian traveller to Sri Lanka and their average expenditure remained largely unchanged over the past 3 years. As such, it was estimated that a traveller stayed for 11 days and spent on average $550 in 2017. Canada, the European Union, Japan, Mexico and South Korea will meet in Geneva next week to discuss how to respond to tariff threats made by US President Donald Trump and to impose tariffs on US imports and autos and car parts. The Trump administration has come under heavy criticism from automakers, foreign governments and others as it considers tariffs of up to 25%, a levy critics warn will hike vehicle cost, hurting auto sales and global industry jobs. Several auto manufacturing powers have been talking to each other in recent days about their fears and a possible coordinated response to Trump's Section 232 investigation, which he ordered on the 23rd of May into whether auto imports are a threat to US security. The US automakers lowered their full-year profit forecasts on Wednesday due to the trade frictions, and their stocks fell as investors bet the disputes would hurt margins and sales.
Manufacturing looks much different today. The assembly line is still...
Meanwhile, market analysts expect foreign participation in the Colombo stock market to remain moderate over the course of the week. The Osha price index dropped 0.47% this week, its first weekly fall in 3, bringing its year-to-date losses to 3.4%. Let's now cross over to Amanda Lukugamage with your weekly forecast for the upcoming week.
We expect the foreign interest to remain positive while foreign participation is expected to moderate. However, foreign outflows are expected to continue in the coming week. With the upcoming result season, we expect market activity levels to slow down as local counterparties are likely to remain on the sideline. Buying interest on undervalued blue chip counters are expected during the week.
On to another news making headlines tonight. A powerful earthquake has struck a popular tourist destination in Indonesia, killing at least 13 people. A 6.4 magnitude quake hit the central Indonesian island of Lombok early this morning. The island attracts tourists from around the world due to its beaches and hiking trails and is located about 40 kilometers east of Bali.
A powerful 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck the popular tourist destination of Lombok in Indonesia today, killing at least 13 people and damaging many buildings. Images showed extensive damage caused by the quake, with some houses collapsed to the ground. The quake hit Lombok Island early in the morning when many people were still sleeping. 12 people were injured and many fled into open fields away from collapsed buildings. The earthquake was only 7 kilometers deep, a shallow depth that would have amplified its effect. The second struck less than an hour later, and the earthquake was on land and did not trigger any waves or tsunami.
A report published in the British newspaper The Sunday Times alleged the Qatar 2022 World Cup bid team ran a secret campaign in 2010 to sabotage competing host bids. The paper claims to have seen leaked documents that show the Qatari bid team employed a US PR firm and ex-CIA agents to smear its rivals, mainly the United States and Australia. The alleged aim was to create propaganda to give the impression that a World Cup would not be supported domestically. Such a campaign, alleged by the Sunday Times, would have broken FIFA's bidding rules. Qatar beat rival bids from the United States, Australia, South Korea and Japan to the right to host the 2022 World Cup. FIFA's rules say World Cup bidders should not make any written or oral statements of any kind, whether adverse or otherwise, about the bids or candidatures of any other member association. The Qatar bid team has been previously accused of corruption but was cleared following a 2-year FIFA inquiry. Cambodians are voting in an election that will not feature the only serious challenger to the rule of Prime Minister Hun Sen, who has been in power since 1985. The US and EU are among those who have questioned the credibility of the vote, but the ruling Cambodian People's Party say 19 other parties are standing.
Polls in Cambodia opened today amid criticism of a crackdown against his dissenters by long-serving Prime Minister Hun Sen, who is set to hold on to power after nearly 33 years in office. The general election is the country's 6th since 1993, when it emerged from decades of war marked by death and destruction at the hands of Pol Pot's genocidal regime. Critics say the election marks the decimation of democracy in the Southeast Asian country following months of intimidation by the ruling party, Cambodian People's Party, and the dissolution last year of the main opposition, Cambodian National Rescue Party. The opposition CNRP, appealing to younger voters and those seeking change, narrowly lost the last general election in 2013.
Let's now take a look at other emerging stories from across the world.
2 children and their great-grandmother are among 5 people to have died in a raging wildfire in Northern California. 2 firefighters died on Thursday, 7 people are missing and tens of thousands have fled their homes. Fire officials say the fires in Shasta County are being sucked up by strong winds to form fire tornadoes and are uprooting trees and overturning cars. At least 60 people have died in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh after floods triggered by heavy rains. Thousands have been affected by floods that have submerged many areas and caused severe waterlogging. Ukrainians from all over the country are flocking to what they call the Ukrainian Dead Sea, a saltwater lagoon in the southern Kherson region, which has turned into a recreational site due to its supposed therapeutic qualities. According to local media, spas in Austria and Germany use mud and salt gathered at the lake in their treatments. Aside from its purported benefits for health, the lake has earned fame thanks to its unusual pink color caused by blossoming of water plants which grow in its salty environment.
Time to get the latest from the world of entertainment with our segment 70 Seconds of Entertainment.
Hollywood was stunned this week after pop singer Demi Lovato was hospitalized due to an apparent drug overdose. Lovato, who is still recovering in hospital, has been open about her struggles with drug addiction, mental health issues, and an eating disorder. In a surprise announcement, cast for the next Star Wars film has been revealed, and the late actress Carrie Fisher will feature as Leia, using previously unreleased footage shot for Star Wars The Force Awakens. Director J.J. Abrams said the team could not conclude the Skywalker saga without Fisher's presence. 5 years after the death of Fast and Furious star Paul Walker, a new documentary on Paramount Network is taking a heartfelt look at his life and legacy. I Am Paul Walker will premiere on August 11th. Various entertainment sites report that Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas are now engaged. The musician has popped the question on the actress in London last week on her 36th birthday. Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Fallout is on its way to the top of North American box office with an estimated $59 million this weekend. The sixth in the successful franchise is praised with rave reviews since it hit the theaters on Friday.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Nicholas Basilashvili wrestled the German Open crown away from defending champion Leonardo Mayer today in the tournament's finale in Hamburg. Mayer took Basilashvili the distance before the Georgian prevailed 6-4, love 6-7-5. Now let's see how they performed in their semi-finals yesterday.
Reigning German Open champion Leonardo Mayer beat Joseph Kovalik yesterday in their semi-final as Mayer bids to defend his title. The Argentine needed 3 sets with a final set tiebreaker to defeat the Slovak 6-7, 6-4, 7-6. In the other semi-final, Nicholas Basilashvili beat Nicolas Jarry after rain delayed the game by several hours. The Georgian took the first set 7-5 before Chile's Jarry hit back with a 6-love set as Basilashvili recovered to make the final set 6-1. The duo knocked out number 1 and number 3 seeds in Dominic Thiem and Pablo Carreño Busta in their quarter-final ties.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
And before we conclude this edition of First at 9 tonight, we'd like to take you to China, where its rural beauty has been famous for being a breathtaking sight. Villagers living in mountainous regions know how to artfully craft paddy fields and protect their natural environment with due respect. Enjoy these visuals and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.